Trying to revive your bed from the winter kill? I'm Angela Buckaloo. It's time for TLC Live. Hey everybody, Angela Buckaloo at TLC for TLC Live. Darrell joining me today to talk about how we revive our beds after what happened to us this winter. Remember that big cold snap basically took everything out.
Yeah, but it was a rough winter between the ice storm we had in the fall that took out a lot of branches and trees, and then the freeze we had early this spring. Flower beds are looking pretty rough right at the moment. So I know everyone is kind of waiting to see what's going to happen with their hawthorns and nandinas and hollies and things like that. And so we're kind of nearing the end of the time frame now on when, if they were going to grow out of that, they were going to grow out of it. So first thing, if you haven't fertilized this spring, go ahead and do that now. Give your plants the best chance possible to come out of those ugly stages that they're in right now. But to be honest, if you're not seeing signs of growth, either at the base or at the stems, we're kind of to that point now where you might think about cutting back or pulling out plants that are just not attractive anymore.
What if you have, like me, I've got some, I'm sure other people do, have plants in their yard or in their beds that are like, they're pretty much dead, but they have one shoot of what looks like growth. And, you know, I don't know, do I pull it at this time? And you're saying it's kind of like this is the time when we sort of waited as long as we can.
Yeah, for the most part. So if you're like me and you, a lot of people are seeing just new growth right around the very base of the plant. And so chances are the top part has died back and that's not going to recover. So it's just going to have new growth from the base, and that's where all the growth is going to come from. So if you're willing to wait and you're patient, go ahead and cut back the dead tips and just leave that new growth to come back, and it will come back and most likely be just fine. It's just going to take some time. So a plant that was 2 or 3 feet tall might only end up being 6 inches to a foot tall this year, and you just have to wait a couple of years. So yeah, it's a slow process, but if you're willing to wait, then you can do that. If not, if you're like me, go ahead and pull it out and start fresh.
And if you see no growth, that's pretty much your answer. At this point, you're saying we've waited as long as we can.
You might as well go ahead and start thinking about pulling stuff out or trimming back, and that way you can start freshening the beds again.
Okay, good to know. And you could replace it with a hydrangea.
Hydrangea, yes. Hydrangea is definitely a favorite for a place in your garden that's going to get some afternoon shade. We have a ton of varieties. Some are going to get really tall, some are going to stay really short, but for the most part, they're all going to have these big fluffy hydrangea, these big snowball type flowers on them, starting in spring and then going through the summer. Some of them are going to rebloom multiple times throughout the summer. Some of them bloom once, and then that bloom actually stays on there and changes color throughout the season. And that would be like an oak leaf or a limelight hydrangea, certain things like that. But there are so many different varieties to choose from. And our soil does dictate color for the most part, but generally you're going to see pinks and whites and blues and purples, and then there are certain varieties that will be for sure white and definitely green, but there really is a lot to choose from in the way of hydrangea.
You know, getting back to what we were talking about before, though, it's kind of interesting is that so many people, including myself, and this includes me, had lost some limbs, you know, from the ice storm or from whatever. This winter, there was so much that damaged our plants. But now, what I thought was a shady area is now not a shady area anymore. It gives you a lot more options to choose from for your...
Our landscape has changed drastically in the last 6 months because of what used to be shade is not anymore because of the trees that are down, and then of course things that have just died in the beds because of the freeze. So everything is really different right now. So definitely pay attention to the spots that used to be shade or that you used to have shade gardens in, because that might not be the case anymore. But hydrangea are great for places that are going to get some afternoon shade, and there really are a lot of cool varieties to do.
They're really pretty.
They really are.
And Darrell, another great option for renewing your beds, a boxwood.
Definitely. Again, there are numerous varieties to choose from. Some are going to be tall and skinny, more like a column, so you can use them to flank windows or doors. Then others are going to be real nice and tight dwarf round balls, like these English dwarf. These are awesome. Again, just know your spot. So know if it's going to get afternoon shade or all day sun. That definitely helps us to help you choose the right variety for the right location.
And what do they need?
Some varieties like these can take morning sun only, and they really need shade after that. But then there are other varieties like here on the backside that can take all day sun. So again, know your place and know how much sun that your bed does get, and that way we can help you pick the right variety for the right spot.
Right, and know especially now, because sometimes your gardens might have changed because of winter.
Exactly.
All right, Darrell, thanks so much. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time on TLC Live.